The blessing in COVID is that if you still waking up every day, it's because God ain't through with you. See, the moment God through with you, you just ain't waking up no more. So behind every moment of adversity, there's a lesson and a blessing. You just got to hang in there to see what it is. Like COVID for me has been a blessing because I live my life in the expectation that God is doing great things all the time, even in the midst of trial. I just know that I'm gonna come out because of my track record. See, your track, all you gotta do is look at your life. Y'all be tripping sometimes. Sometimes you trip yourself out. Look at this. How many of y'all, just show me hands if you've had really bad days? Now let me ask you something. How many of y'all had some days and you ain't think you was gonna make it? Now, you wanna know something? Your track record for surviving bad, unbearable days, your track record is 100%. So if God done brought you through all of them, why he ain't gonna get you through the rest of it? See, once you understand that, you can get on with living. A lot of people, y'all been tripping yourself out. Oh, it's the COVID. I can't go outside. Can't nobody go outside. Y'all stay in the house, learn something. Get connected, get spiritual. You can't go nowhere, talk to God. What? Figure it out. Make something happen for yourself. That's what I did. Man, I had so much good stuff happen to me during the COVID. Got me some rest, lost me a little weight, saved some money, can't go nowhere. My wife quit shopping because she can't go nowhere. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
It's absolutely necessary, and that's why I wrote the book. Because people only see the good part of you. It's like Instagram and Twitter. You never post a bad picture. You know, you pass up all them other pictures, you get that one picture that's got the right angle and the right light, you put that picture up, and then put a filter on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, put a filter on that, lighten it up, change it a little bit, do all that kind of stuff. So we have started to believe the illusion that people who look good on camera and people who do amazing things only had amazing moments. And that's why we have so many haters. Because haters feel like it's not fair for you to have all the good times while I go through all the bad times. But the reality is we go through bad times too.
Come on.
We go through heartache too.
Right.
We go through disappointment. We feel bad. We get depressed. We want to give up. We want to walk away. But there's something down inside of you that keeps pushing you. I feel like
Let's take a few minutes to talk about the importance of knowing yourself enough to be your best cheerleader. You know, when you thought you were doing what you were supposed to do and were misinformed, the times you thought you had it all laid out and it just didn't work, the times when you burned the midnight oil day after day and it didn't seem to help, it didn't seem to change the end result. These are the times that you have to rely on your own self-encouragement. And there are two ways to use self-encouragement. Number one, take responsibility for the missed opportunity or the misrepresentation. Learn from the fact that even though your client wanted it one way and you presented it the right way, it didn't work. Be prepared for the letdowns that happen every so often. Know that this lost opportunity just sets you up better for the next one. Realize that you can make the necessary alterations next time. Make the changes that will make the difference. Study your mistakes and learn from them. Don't dwell on the mistakes. Acknowledge them. Learn from them. Encourage yourself that you're smarter than your bank account leads you to believe. The second way to use self-encouragement, remind yourself that you're bound to get better. Don't get down on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's the next opportunity that matters, not the last one, the next one. Now, the last one matters only in that you must learn from your mistakes. But the next one gives you the opportunity to show that you have learned from your mistakes. You can do it better next time. You just have to practice, practice, practice. Keep trying. Keep trying until what? Until you've got it down. If you figured out what went wrong last time, then you know how to make it right next time. If you figured out what it was in your presentation that didn't work, don't say that next time. If you figured out that the reason you didn't close the deal this time was because you didn't have all the facts and figures in place, have all the facts and figures in place next time. Don't beat yourself for messing up. Pat yourself on the back for figuring it out. You need to encourage yourself. You need to pump yourself up. You need to be your own cheerleader. Why? Because you can't wait and hope that someone else will come along and cheer you up, make you feel better, tell you that you'll do better next time. You have to rely on yourself. You have to have faith in yourself and your ability to figure out what works and what doesn't, what's right and what's wrong. You have to have the inner belief that everything you're doing for a positive outcome in the future. You have to encourage yourself with future successes. Number one way to use self-encouragement: take responsibility for missed opportunities and study your mistakes. Number two, don't get down on yourself. Encourage yourself with your future. Encourage yourself with your goals, your dreams, your ambition. Knowing that you've got a plan. Knowing that you're taking the right steps. Knowing that you're going to do it until. When you miss an opportunity, are unprepared for an opportunity, or suffer a setback while realizing your goals, when you miss out, you need to encourage yourself by immediately getting back into line. There's an old cowboy saying, fall off a horse 7 times, and you're a real cowboy. If you fall off a horse, get right back on. If you fall off track, get right back on. If you fall away from your disciplines, get right back to them. If you fall out of habit, get back into the habit. If you fall off, get back on. If you fall off the horse of habits or disciplines or progress. If you fall off the horse, get back on. It may be hard, may be a bit frightening, but get back on. Keep your ambition alive and active and well. We must all suffer one of 2 pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. If you don't spend an ounce of discipline, you'll most likely suffer tons of regret. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. It's much easier to be disciplined and have the money than to try to rationalize why you don't. I'm telling you, better a few disciplines than a lack of dignity. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. Don't wish for it to change out there. Develop yourself to the point that you can truly and totally rely on yourself.
Doing something that you don't find challenging, that does not make you stretch mentally, that does not stimulate you, that does not inspire you. Something that you don't find a sense of fulfillment in it. If you're doing that day in and day out, it has to affect how you feel about yourself, your level of motivation. Your relationships. What kind of impact is it having on your life? Is it nourishing or is it a toxic relationship? Does it drain you or does it build you up? Ask yourself that. How motivated are you to do something about it? Your contribution, your actions. What are you giving? Many people will leave the universe without a trace. No one will know they were here. And in fact, under their name, we could put under there, not used up. Will anybody know that you came this way? What contribution are you giving? What will you leave? What will be different because you came this way? Someone once said that life is our gift to us, that God has given us, and how we live our lives is our gift to God. What kind of gift are you formulating? Is this a gift that you like to take back and do something else before you turn it in? Think about that. What can we do? What are some of the keys that we can begin to use to motivate ourselves when our batteries run low? Because I don't care who you are, I don't care what you do, at some time you are going to get tired. At some time you're going to get in a rut. Seem like nothing you do works out right. And sometimes it just seems like you just don't have the wherewithal or the will to do anything. That sometimes you act like you're punch drunk. You're just wading through life, just doing time day in and day out, looking at non-discriminatory television, anything that's on, just looking. And depressed, feeling powerless, feeling useless, and bored. What do you do? How do you get yourself out of a rut? How do you, when you know you can do more than what you've been doing and you're not doing it and you're discontent with where you are, you get angry at yourself. How do you get out of that rut? How do you motivate yourself? One of the things that we must do is that we must be involved in working on achieving self-mastery. You must work on yourself continuously. Never be satisfied with yourself. Always know that as you invest the effort and time on you, that's the greatest ability that human beings have above animals. See, a dog can't be anything but a dog. Tree can't be anything but a tree. Human being, you've got unlimited potential. You can put effort on you, and by concentrating on you and developing you, you can transform your life wherever you are right now. So you want to work on yourself. You want to read books that inspire you and motivate you. You want to listen to tapes over and over and over again. And I suggest that you listen to tapes when you first get up in the morning. You want to control the spirit of your day. When you first wake up in the morning, your mind is operating at 10.5 wave cycles per second. That's when the subconscious mind is most impressionable. Whatever you hear in the first 20 minutes when you wake up, that will affect the spirit of your day. When you listen to tapes, listen with relaxed belief. Believing that this can happen for you. And by listening to them, listen to them over and over and over again, and you will get a breakthrough. You can listen to the same tape for months, and all of a sudden, you hear something you never heard before. It'll have a special meaning for you. Or read the same book over again, and you find some special insight. You said, I can't believe I didn't see that the first time. So you want to be involved in developing yourself. Most people won't do that. Most people won't take that kind of effort and invest that kind of energy in themselves because they will fall prey to that conversation within. Oh, don't do that. You don't have time. You're too busy. You're too caught up in the rat race. Most people won't do that. Well, they won't take time to go to lectures. They won't take time to go to seminars. They won't take time to go to classes to improve themselves. And as you continue to work on yourself, you will begin to expand your vision of yourself. You'll begin to work towards self-mastery. And you will begin to see it reflect itself in all the dimensions of your life, your mental life, your physical life, your social life, in your relationships, your monetary life. So concentrate on developing yourself.
Final rule. It's called pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. And it's the most personal chapter in the book. It's a lot about my daughter. And my daughter was very ill when she was a kid, but particularly when she was a teenager. She had a very terrible time of it. She had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and when she was between the ages of 14 and 16, it first destroyed her hip, which had to be replaced, and then it destroyed the ankle on her other leg, which had to be replaced. And she walked around for 2 years on broken legs, and she was taking massive doses of opiates and could hardly stay awake, and she had this advanced autoimmune disease, which produced all sorts of other symptoms that were just as bad as the joint degeneration, but which are harder to describe. And so it's just bloody brutal. You know, and as a test of your faith, there's almost nothing that's more direct than a serious illness inflicted upon an innocent child, right? And so the chapter's a meditation on that, and also on, well, what to do in a situation like that, because everyone is going to have a situation like that in some sense, you know, because you'll be faced with illness in the people that you love and in crisis. And so it's a practical guide to coping with those sorts of things. Like, and one of the things you do when you're overwhelmed by crisis is you shorten your time frame. You know, it's like you can't think about next month. Maybe you can't even bloody well think about next week, or maybe not even tomorrow. You know, because now is just so overwhelming that that's all there is. It's like, and that's what you do. You cut your time frame back until you can cope with it. And if it's not the next week that you see how to get through, then it's the next day. And if it's not the next day, then it's the next hour. And if it's not the next hour, then it's the next minute. And you know, people are very, 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 very tough. And it turns out that if you face things that you can put up with a lot more than you think you can put up with, and you can do it without becoming corrupted. And she did recover quite fully, and much as a consequence of her own machinations, because she figured out what was wrong with her and then took the necessary steps to fix it, which is nothing short of a bloody miracle as far as I'm concerned. And anyways, part of the cat bit is I actually started by talking about our dog, who actually died about a year ago, but he's still alive in the book. You know, I let people know, because dog lovers love dogs, and if you love cats, then they think you don't like dogs, and then they don't like you. So I also point out at the beginning of the chapter that, you know, if you want to pet a dog on the street, that's okay too, so you don't have to get up in arms about it. But the idea is that, you know, you have to be alert when you're suffering. You have to be alert to the beauty in life, the unexpected beauty in life. And that's kind of what I was trying to get across with the idea of the cat. There's this cat that lives across the street from us called Ginger, and Ginger's a Siamese cat. And cats really aren't domesticated, technically speaking. They're still wild animals, but they kind of like people. God only knows why, but they do, you know. And so Ginger will come wandering over, and our dog looks at her, but they're friends, and she rolls over on his back, and Seiko used to, you know, nose her a bit. And then she'd kind of mosey over and let you pet her if she was feeling like it that day. And, you know, you have to look for that little bit of sparkling crystal in the darkness when things are bad. You have to look and see where things are still beautiful and where there's still something that's sustaining. You know, you narrow your time frame and you be grateful for what you have, and that can get you through some very dark times. And maybe even successfully if you're lucky. But even if unsuccessfully, then maybe it's only tragic and not absolute hell. And you can do that, you know, in the worst situation. You can make it only tragic and not hell. And there's a big gap between tragedy and hell. You know, there's nothing worse at a deathbed than to see the people there fighting. The death is bad enough, but you can take that, as terrible as it is, and make it into something that's absolutely unbearable. And maybe I think, and this is sort of what I closed the book with, is this idea is that if we didn't all attempt to make terrible things even worse than they are, then maybe we could tolerate the terrible things that we have to put up with in order to exist. And maybe we could make the world into a better place, you know, and it's what we should be doing and what we could be doing because we don't have anything better to do. And that's what the book is about. And that's the end of 12 Rules for Life.
I'm telling you, this stuff changed my life, altered the course of my life, from milking cows to sitting on this stool. Incredible. What a journey. I want you to look now at the whole list that you've written and the exercises we've done. Now I want you to answer this question. What kind of person must I become to achieve all I want? What kind of person must I become to achieve all I want? Now we've got two things working. What you become helps you to achieve, and what you achieve helps you to become. And the more you become, the more you can achieve, and the more you achieve, the more you can become. Who knows which affects the other the most? So now just write this exercise. Start with a few sentences. We won't have time for you to, take a lot of time, but just start with a few sentences. Your concept of the person you think you must become to achieve what you want. This is time for a little truth here. Maybe you need to become much wiser than you are at the moment. You need to become stronger. You need to have better health. Maybe you need a little coaching to really become the person I want to become. I'm going to have some coaching. Physical coaching, spiritual coaching, developing skills coaching. To be the influence you want to be, you got to build an incredible reputation. What kind of person must I be to attract all that I want in my life and the people that I want and the opportunities that I want? When you knock on the door and opportunity opens, you must stand there as a very attractive person, or you may not be invited in. I usually take the simple approach to life in trying to figure it out or trying to comprehend it. The guy says, this happens to me, this happens to me, and all this stuff happens to me. How come it all happens to me? And I say, I don't know. Best I've been able to figure out, those kind of things always happen to people like you. I think the simple approach is the best, or the witty approach. I come along 16 years ago to do some things for Herbalife, and one of my friends says, I heard that some people died using that Herbalife product, and I said, not that many. Here's what I found out. You cannot give a serious answer to a silly comment. You've got to return silly for silly. A little wit sometimes helps to just, disarm all the stuff that you don't want to take responsibility for. Lady Astor in the English Parliament was exasperated with Churchill. and she said, "Winston Churchill, if you were my husband, I would put poison in your coffee." And Winston said, "Lady Astor, if you were my wife, I would drink it." A few simple ideas can be so life-changing, whether it's economic or health. My mama said, "You don't have to radically change." She recommended an apple a day. And I said, "Well, can I have some candy?" She said, "Yes, if you have the candy and the apple, but not the candy as the substitute for the apple." See, that made sense to me. Okay, I can have candy if I've made sure I've had the apple, but not as the substitute for the apple. And she said it in such a simple way, I got it. Shof, my mentor in business, had the same unique style. When I said, "Hey, things cost too much," he said, "No, you can't afford them." I thought, that's the new way to look at it. And he showed me these alternate ways to look at something. He said, "How come you're not doing well?" I showed him my paycheck. I said, "This is all the company pays." He said, "Well, that's not true." I said, "No, this is my check." He says, "No, Mr. Rohn, this is all that the company pays you. This is not all that the company pays." Just in 2 or 3 sentences opened up a whole new world of consciousness to think about. He says, "Doesn't some people in the same company earn 4 or 5 times this amount that you're getting?" I said, "Well, yes." He said, "Well, then this is not all that the company pays. And if you were 4 or 5 times more valuable than you are now, do you think this would multiply by 4 or 5? And I said, "Yes, I guess it would." He said, "Why don't we go to work on that?" So you don't have to work on the company to pay you more money. You only have to work on yourself to become more valuable. Simple ways of saying things so simply. Doesn't have to be radical. The key is just to start. If you start making 3 presentations a day in a year, it's 1,000. The 1,000 seems like too many to do, but starting is easy. Then continuing and not yielding to the temptation to be careless and let it slide and go back to old habits. Just put it in your pocket. And then when you get home, you put it in the trash. And somebody says, "Well, what difference does that make? You know, the little cellophane on the toothpick." Here's what makes the difference: the habit. And the habit makes the difference primarily for you. Now, yes, it makes a contribution, and a little small contribution by not leaving trash. But here's what it does mostly: give you the incredible feeling of self-worth because you have good habits. That's the deal. The habit of turning out the lights when you're finished with your hotel room. You leave the hotel room, turn out the lights. It just makes a small contribution, but what if everybody did it? I'm telling you, the energy requirements would be less. You say, "Well, the hotel gets the benefit." Hey, it doesn't matter to you who gets the benefit. Guess what's the greatest benefit? Being a person of unique habits. Habits that not only make you perform as far as skills are concerned, but habits that make you feel good about yourself. And then sometimes we get the question, why do it? And I got the best answer to that. Why not do it? If it's so easy to do, why not do all the easy things that make a contribution? And who knows what the total contribution could be if we all did it. But even if everybody doesn't, if you do it, and if I do it, it just makes us better human beings. It makes us feel better about ourselves. And if I know you do it, it makes me feel better about you. And if you know I do it, I think it makes you feel better about me. Say, wow, this man was taught some good things when he was growing up. Some countries of the world show unique respect. When I go to Mexico, I love to go to Mexico because they don't just say, "Hello, Jim Rohn." They say, "Hello, Mr. Jim Rohn." When they introduce me, they say, "This is Mr. Jim Rohn." They don't say, "This is Jim Rohn." It's just part of the custom. This is Mr. Jim Rohn. When I first came to the South, I remember just as a kid, and they said, "Yes, ma'am," "Yes, sir," "No, sir." I mean, where I was raised, we really didn't do that. But I think the more the South did it, the more it caught on, and now I'm beginning to hear that in a lot more places than just the South. "Yes, ma'am," "Yes, sir." Things we can all learn. Helps make our lives better, helps make the world better, helps make people feel good about themselves, feel good about us. Incredible. So the environment, whatever little thing you can think of that gives you pride and joy in doing to make the contribution. As small as it may seem, you make it for what it does to the environment, for the people. But here's the biggest reason for what it does for you. I want to be the best I can possibly be at delivering the message of good words. So we keep working on our skills to be the best we possibly can.
When God told Moses to hold up the rod and the waters would part, I can imagine he was tempted to reason it out. God, what do you mean? These waters have been like this for years. You would think if the Israelites were going to somehow get across, it would take months for the waters to recede, become less and less. Maybe God would send a big drought. But when God spoke to Moses, nothing looked any different. Everything in his mind said it's impossible. It would take months or years of a drought. God, we only have a few hours before we're going to be recaptured. But God doesn't always do things on a normal timetable. He specializes in doing a quick work. He knows how to speed things up. What could have taken years, in one moment, God caused the winds to blow the waters back. They hurried out of the Israelites' way. Now, you may have obstacles in your life that look permanent, but God is about to have them hurry out of your way. It's not going to happen gradually on a normal schedule like you were expecting. It's going to happen quickly, out of the ordinary. Things that you've been struggling with, fear, anxiety, a challenge in your health, that child that's off course. When you look at the waters, nothing looks any different. You know God is telling you a breakthrough is coming, but you don't see any sign of it. You want to believe, but your mind is telling you there's no way. But just like those waters hurried out of the Israelites' way, those obstacles are about to hurry out of your way. Now, you may have had that illness a long time. The prognosis doesn't look good. Receive this into your spirit. It's about to hurry out of your way. That legal trouble looks permanent. That financial difficulty, that situation at work seems like there's no end in sight. Now get ready. God's about to do a quick work. Lack, struggle, debt is about to hurry out of your way. It's going to happen suddenly. It's going to be a rapid turnaround. That's what happened for us here at Lakewood. When we acquired the Compact Center, a company filed a lawsuit to try to keep us from moving in. They said we violated the deed restrictions. Our attorneys told us it could be tied up in the courts for years. When we looked at the waters, like with Moses, nothing looked any different. A year had gone by, the other side wasn't about to budge. They had no contact with us. Looked like it could be that way for another 10 years. But one day, out of the blue, the other side called and said they wanted to meet. Our attorney said it was probably a ploy, just trying to distract us. We met with them, and in a couple of hours, they agreed to drop the lawsuit and let us have the building. When it's your time, God knows how to have enemies hurry out of your way.
Some people can receive a blessing from the Lord and come up in their standards and still maintain their focus. Other people, the moment they get 2 nickels and a dime, they start acting like strangers you never knew before. They just cannot handle the blessing of the Lord. One good blessing and they can't speak to anybody, and one good blessing and they're shaking your hand with 3 fingers out. You don't have to waste time going on a witch hunt. You don't have to chase down rumors. You don't have to chase down gossip. You don't have to change anybody's mind about you. You don't have to change their attitude. Your blessing is not predicated upon anybody else's opinion. The only thing you have to worry about is not cursing yourself.
One of the things that I believe can destroy your family, your organization, your existence, is to allow a toxic person to come in unaware. Here's what I believe to be true. Hateful people are simply hurt people. I believe with all my heart. People who are hateful are people who have been hurt. And guess what? The problem with hurt people is they do what? They hurt people.
You should surround yourself with people who genuinely want the best for you. And if the people around you are not supporting you in your endeavors, and they put you down and they punish you for your virtues, or even punish you too intensely for your faults, and fail to reward you when you're doing what you should be doing, that there comes a point where you would be better off finding someone who is actually on your side. And that can even be the case with family members, although of course that's a very difficult decision to make. But sometimes people do have the misfortune of being tangled up with family members who are operating in a manner that's so counterproductive to their health that it's better for them, despite the pain, to cease communication with them.
See, a lot of folk won't let you forget what you used to do or what you have done, what mistakes you've made. All of us have made some mistakes in life. All of us have done some things that if we had them to do over again, we wouldn't do it again. There are a lot of things that if I had it to do over again, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done it differently. Well, it didn't happen that way. And that's what you call life. I didn't do it like that. Oh, you don't want me to live that down, huh? You want to keep on putting that in my face about what I did. Guess what? I'm not interested. That's what I did then. Won't do it today, so you are picking on an innocent man.
There are people that do not want you to lift your head and to walk proudly in this life. Well, they will say to you is, hey, don't you remember what you did back then? But see, the haters, they see that, and because they don't have that peace, they don't want you to have it either. I guarantee you, if you show me a person that is a hateful person in this life, I will show you a person that has been treated hatefully in his own life. He's been treated cruelly. He has been outed. He has been disenfranchised. He or she has been disenfranchised.
But I would say, even if you don't like the idea of removing the toxic people in your life, you should certainly endeavor to surround yourself with the sorts of people that you would want to surround someone that you regarded as your friend or loved one. So you need to extend the same courtesy to yourself, especially to the part of yourself that's striving upward, that you would to someone that you cared for.
You're looking at a guy who got rejected a lot of times. I had friends who were friends that I grew up with, that over time, like for some reason, they just didn't want to hang with me anymore. So, what do? Well, I can only tell you what I did. I got busy working on becoming a stronger version of myself, and I put all of my focus and energy on developing my skills as an athlete, getting stronger, getting bigger, getting faster, and getting better at the sport of football. So that allowed me to hone my group of friends, bring in a group of friends, to lead a group of people, and to use the gifts that I've been given, that I naturally have, to gain influence in school and socially. So that's my experience. It was through sports and football. But I guarantee you, bro, that there is something about you that's magnificent, and you're going to have to work on that and find a group of kids that appreciate that. I would invite you to play sports, because that's, it's what I do. But if that's not your inclination, find a group, find other cliques of individuals that you can gain influence with, that you could earn friendships through because you have a common goal or a common value.
Unapologetically get rid of all things, people, and situations that no longer belong in your life. That means you are going to boldly step into and walk into the unfamiliar. Boldly and abruptly get rid of things, people, and situations, relationships, friendships, surroundings. Deciding that you love yourself enough to no longer walk in the direction of pain, drama, or dysfunction. There's no way that you can say that you love yourself when you don't like most of your friends. There's no way that you can say that you are really concerned about your career getting to another level if you still have those managers, agents, lawyers, business people, or anything associated to your business. Let me tell y'all something. I realized a long time ago, I only got one Tyrese Gibson. I'm not angry. I'm convinced. Who wakes up every day and says, I want to invite as many dysfunctional and crazy people in my life and around my life every single day? Who does that? You don't like them, so why are they still there? You don't trust them, so why are they still there?
So I believe also hateful people have a need to put you down because they really are trying to make themselves feel better. They lose sight of contentment. They stop counting their blessings and they start counting the blessings of other people. That's who they are. There are people that do not like to see you advancing in life.
Other thing is that in order to get out of a rut, we need some coaching. Find some trusted critics, people that you know care about you and love you. So there's some things that keeps us from growing and getting out of ruts. Number one, we identify with feedback. We take it personal when someone wants to give us some feedback on where we are falling short and tell us about our blind spots. We want to have everything being positive about us. We're not perfect. It hurts. I have a friend who's a trusted critic. I don't like him, but I love him. He doesn't tell me the things I want to hear. He tells me what I need to hear so I can grow. It hurts. It hurts when he put me on the hot seat. I can't stand it. But that's the only way that I can grow. And I'm glad that he loves me enough to risk our friendship to tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear.
Take a look at the people that are around you. And if they're not on the side of what's good for you, then walk away. You want friends who, when something good happens to you, that's good for you. They're happy about that. They're not like all bitter and resentful underground and like saying horrible things behind your back and trying to drag you down. It's like that's not helpful. And then when something bad happens to you and you go to them and you say, look, this terrible thing happened to me, they're not secretly gloating about the fact that catastrophe finally befell you.
Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what's using my life? Heard a guy give a lecture one time that says, we are today what we were when. And he was talking about the fact that we, to a great extent, behave, think, react because of some previous experience that we've had. So when you begin to look at your past, give an interpretation that empowers you. That's where I used to be. That's not where I am now. I'm growing. I love myself unconditionally, and I forgive myself. If I knew better, I would have done better. The other thing is about life, when things happen to you, when you permit things to use you, you can't change the past, but you can reinterpret how you see it. Same event, but reinterpreted. An interpretation that empowers me. Get a support group, somebody that you can talk to. People who perhaps might have a similar problem. Support groups are very powerful, that you can share some of the challenges that you're going through. And it might be a situation where one person can give you an idea of how they handle that situation and create an opening for you. Begin to stimulate some possibilities in your mind on how you can resolve the problem. We can't grow by ourselves. As I mentioned before, we grow from people and projects.
Think of it like this. For every peace stealer you allow in your life, you are 20% more likely to live stressed, on edge, to have a crisis. I'm asking you to find happy friends. I am saying you should put up some boundaries. You don't have to make a big announcement. Like I did, just little by little, spend less and less time with that person. If you don't get the wrong people out of your life, you'll never meet the right ones. Especially in your inner circle, the people who are closest to you need to be stable, consistent, happy, responsible people that move you towards your destiny. Like iron sharpens iron, you make each other better. This is the reason many people are stuck. Who do you have in your life? What are you giving your time and energy to? Putting out fires? Trying to keep someone happy? Feeling guilty because you can't meet their demands? That's going to wear you out. It's time to make a change. You can't please everyone.